Watching this video up until this point, there are corrections that need to be made within this video, and some things I completely disagree with on certain things with the fandom. But let's get into this. A lot of it's accurate and fair, but there's some not glaring, but some I think things that should be corrected for the record. By the way, I'm not sick anymore. I can talk and my throat's fine and all that shit. My voice isn't shot, but I have a cough still a little congestion. I apologize in advance if you hear me cough, like right now, okay? Like right there. Seriously, this is still driving me nuts. But let's get into this. Apologies in advance.
Realize about Assassin's Creed Black Flag is that it's the first time that it starts to step away from that sort of purist version of the game where you're following an honorable assassin. And it's after Black Flag that the entire franchise starts to flounder.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that entirely, actually. It's not. Altair wasn't an honorable assassin. Yes, maybe people believe that, but if you actually pay attention to the story, Altair did multiple things that were kind of deemed dishonorable, made a lot of mistakes. You know, Altair did what he felt was right, but he also made a lot of mistakes. You know, you know, not just that, the honorable assassin route. I don't know if we consider Connor a prototypical traditional assassin as well, as Connor went against the Creed 1,000 fucking times in certain aspects in decision making and didn't agree with the entire outlook of the Creed to begin with, you know? So I wouldn't say that at all. Just in my opinion, I don't think so. Now, honorable is very subjective as well. See, assassins aren't honorable. Assassins have a code, but they're not honorable. See, honor is a samurai. They go by an honor code system. Assassins don't give a fuck. And they kill people for what they believe. Like Templars. You know, that's just what I wanted to say.
Ubisoft actually started development on Assassin's Creed Unity shortly after the release of Brotherhood in 2010, but they decided to keep things going with Ezio for a few more games. Unity...
I think I will say, I kind of did. I kind of think that was one of the things that kind of backfired. That ultimately backfired. Because to me, they really had designs on Arno being the next big character, and it's a shame that it didn't turn out that way, because Arno actually is a phenomenally well-written character if you paid attention. Which is hard with all the bugs and shit at the time. Now, it's like this game is beloved amongst the fan base as a cult classic, but it's a shame. It's a shame it came to this point, right?
Was going to be set to be the first game released on the 8th gen console for the Assassin's Creed franchise so far. Because of that, it featured a huge graphical and gameplay overhaul. And it also featured a story based during the early years of the French Revolution, following probably one of the most forgettable Assassin's Creed protagonists to date, Ongo Gablogian. What do you mean that's not his name? Oh, I'm sorry, Arno Dorian.
Yeah, no. Okay, Snarky makes several key mistakes in this video. She really doesn't understand how popular Unity is amongst the core fan base now versus back then. Arno is not forgotten. Arno is actually very much talked about by the fan base to this day for his story. I don't know where you're getting that from. And maybe 5 years, like 6 years ago, actually, you might have had a point. Ever since, I would say, the patch and people started, and then the RPG shit started taking form and poor fans started getting mad, they went back to Unity. And when they went back to Unity to compare, they realized how superior of a game in terms of Assassin's Creed lore that this game was compared to the things that we're seeing since Origins. Now, Origins is a better game to me in terms of story than Unity. Now, everyone's going to look at me and they might disagree. Suck my balls. But in terms of like the entire makeup of Assassin's Creed, like the parkour, the stealth, it's not even close. No one's forgotten Unity, and no one has forgotten Arno Victor Dorian. I don't know where you're getting that from, but it isn't from this fan base, not the core fan base. The core fan base has not forgotten Arno. We very much still to this day talk about Unity. I don't know where we're getting this from. There are a lot of videos, Snarky, you could watch that talk about Unity, that compare to this day about how good this game is. You think Ubisoft made a 60 frames per second update and made a big deal about it for us fans because they didn't realize how popular core fans still found this game amongst themselves? It's a cult classic of a game now. I'm just saying. It's like Cyberpunk for the franchise.
Now, there's kind of an interesting paradox with Assassin's Creed Unity, because following the rest of the franchise, Assassin's Creed Unity actually sells pretty well. It's not financially a mess, but it is a reputational disaster of epic proportions.
It was, and then it isn't. See, at the time, it was a reputational disaster. But as a game, now it is a heralded cult classic that people still play to this day and talk about to this day and make content about to this day and make comparisons to this day. It's actually now the benchmark for the franchise. It's become the benchmark. Fans have like cultivated this, and this game's been improved inch by inch, piece by piece, to the point where this game is honestly added to me at the peak of what it should be. That I really do feel bad it came to this point, but this game is honestly a cult classic. I don't know what else to say about that, but yeah, like at the time it was a reputational killer, yes. But now it's like, it's just so beloved for what it should have been,
The game's launch was an absolute nightmare. It was notoriously broken upon release. The launch was full of bugs that were literally game crashing. For most players, the game was unplayable on the day it was released. This generated so much bad press that Ubisoft was obligated to basically give out all the DLC they had for free in order to try and win the players back. But
which really sucked because the DLC is actually pretty fucking awesome.
Problem is that the damage was already done. The reputation that the Assassin's Creed franchise had worked so hard to build was basically destroyed by the release of this one. The issues, which were attributed not to a cheap or bad game, but to an incredibly premature and rushed launch, essentially made it so that this game is mostly forgotten.
It is not forgotten. I don't know why she keeps doing this. It is not mostly forgotten. I don't think you understand this fan base. And I'm not trying to trash you or anything on this video, because I don't think you actually... I don't expect you to do like crazy research and know the fandom and what they say on every fucking point, Like, I don't expect her to understand the fandom. I don't. I really don't. But I need to say this. I really don't understand why you haven't heard about the phenomenon that is Unity when it comes to this fan base. The last thing you can ever say about Assassin's Creed Unity is that the core fans of this fan base forgot this game. Ain't none of us forgot this game. None of us. I still have it. I'm still playing it because the 60 frames per second update I got ecstatic about. There are dudes making videos about it. I even made a video about it. Everyone talks about this game to this day. It has not changed. Nothing's changed when it comes to the last 2-3 years about what we think of this game in terms of what this game should have been. It's absolutely beloved by the core fans. I really hate the idea that you're saying it's forgotten, because Syndicate's the forgotten game, right? Syndicate is a game that's forgotten. Syndicate is a game that didn't sell well and people don't talk about, even though it actually is a pretty damn good game. Like I said, but Unity, people still make fucking comparisons. Still, to this day. People still do content. They still do stealth videos. There are millions of views that this game generates. So I disagree entirely on that.
terms of Assassin's Creed discussions, unless you're complaining about the bugs. The disaster of
Again, that's not what we're talking about when it comes to this game. I mean, the bugs? Girl, have you even understood how much we talk about in Herald the fucking parkour? The weapons? The layout and the landscape of the fucking France? The architecture? Yeah, I don't know about that.
Assassin's Creed Unity is basically what cements the next one as another flop. In 2015, Ubisoft takes the franchise to the Industrial Revolution in London. Assassin's Creed Syndicate follows a pair of charismatic twins, Jacob and Evie Fry. It's the first time we get two protagonists in an Assassin's Creed mainline game. And despite its potential to be a fascinating game, it's a commercial disappointment. People are so pissed off about Assassin's Creed Unity that they don't want to hear about Assassin's Creed Syndicate. It sells only 5.5 million copies in 2 years, which is a huge drop-off from the tremendous successes of the Ezio trilogy or Black Flag or Assassin's Creed 3. And by now, with two big mainline Assassin's Creed games flopping terribly, rumors of franchise fatigue begin to swirl. Ubisoft decides the entire franchise needs a huge reinvention, both across gameplay and the major narrative. And what they do with the franchise basically puts an end to a lot of purist fans' interest in the franchise, but it actually reinvigorates and births an entirely
As a purist fan myself, that actually has my own issues with the RPG lineup. Origins is a game that I really wish fans harped on the actual important stuff of that game versus bitching at the RPG setup. I really wish they cared more about the story and the actual heart in this game than complaining about the fact that there's a hitbox. But unfortunately, here we are. I don't know if it would have saved it, but I do think one of the biggest mistakes they made was not going with a sequel with Bayek and Aya killing Octavian and killing, of course, Cleopatra with the snake, which would have directly confirmed the canon from Assassin's Creed 2. Yes, it's the Amunet canon where in Assassin's Creed 2, you look at her statue, or Amunet, it says she killed Cleopatra with a snake. Well, it was revealed at the end of Assassin's Creed Origins that, of course, Aya is Amunet, which makes perfect sense because who the fuck is a hater of that degree to kill someone with a fucking snake? Of course, it would be Aya to do some shit like that. With that game focused on killing the snake, it made perfect sense, and I never got the sequel to that. I feel robbed. I feel very robbed, but I didn't get to fucking play as Aya for a minute to have her fucking go in there and kill this bitch with a snake. But no, can't do that. It would have made the most perfect sense. She killed her with a snake. Of course it's Aya. Of course Aya would do some shit like that. She hates that bitch. But no, I don't get what I want.
New genre of Assassin's Creed fan. They decided the next game, Assassin's Creed Origins, would come closer to a role-playing game as opposed to the open-world stealth action style of the franchise's previous entries. Thus,
for the record, it is an open-world stealth game if you actually build up to it. A lot of people have demonstrated this, including me. I've cleared out whole forts and caravans, not detected, using poison, using hidden blade, and using my bow and arrow. Believe me, you can play stealth in this game when you earn it. The problem is you have to level up to earn it, which I understand is a pain in the ass. I do hear the complaints. But the same token, you can't expect the franchise to keep doing the same thing. We had leveling shit in Syndicate. We in Unity. We knew that this day was coming,
giving players way more hours of gameplay than any of the others had given before. Now, the entire identity of Assassin's Creed games shifts over at this point. Missions are now presented by quest givers as opposed to players moving linearly through the story of the Animus. And this whole game is actually based before the formation of the Assassin's Brotherhood. This game does reintroduce the modern-day storyline with a former Abstergo employee by the name of Layla Layla Hassan.
I don't believe she was a former employee, by the way. Pretty sure, because I played this game like front to back, 1,000, 3,000. I lost count 10,000 times. I'm pretty sure Layla was a current employee who decided to break policy by taking the Animus on a little work retreat because she wanted to make a big discovery to get ahead at work. I'm 90% sure of that. I could be wrong, someone correct me in the comments, but I'm 90% sure that she was a current employee who decided to break policy. You know, the Otzoberg penalty type shit. You know, if anyone knows who Otzoberg is, you know, Abstergo try hard. You know, I hate that fucking dude. I want to kill him. It makes perfect sense that he's voiced by Cesare. That's why I want to kill him. He's a fucking modern. I swear to God, his bloodline better include that he's the descendant of Cesare. Because that's how fucking annoying he is. Actually, he has to be. I mean, he's literally voiced by the same guy that voice acted for Cesare, is what I'm saying. But also, he has a literal fucking, like, self-important god complex. This guy is just such a self-aggrandized piece of shit. And I know this because I know if you played Syndicate, you didn't get that sense because you didn't really get anything from that scumlord. But I played Rogue front to back, which you forgot to mention, sweetheart. Whatever. No one wants to fucking mention Rogue. No one. I don't know why she didn't mention Rogue. I actually don't know why. That's actually something to mention. It's actually a pretty little interesting footnote, but whatever. Whatever. Cool. Anyways, what was I saying? What was I saying? Oh, yeah. But if you played Rogue and you played in the actual storyline and you played the Abstergo real life storyline, you know, blah, blah, blah. Otzoberg is a prominent character in that actual storyline. And he's a giant dick. Oh my God, the arrogance on that dickhead. I could not stand his ass. So he better be Cesare's fucking descendant. He has to be. Guy's such a douche. I forget if he died in Syndicate. I'm pretty sure he didn't. But I really hope he did.
And even though she is in the game a limited amount, each time that she's there is actually way more meaningful than basically anything that gets done with Desmond in the earlier games.
What? What the fuck are you talking about? You're sarcastic, right? You're being sarcastic, right, sweetie? What are you talking about? Oh, hell no. No, we're going to rewind that. No.
The name of Layla Hassan, and even though she is in the game a limited amount, each time that she's there is actually way more meaningful than basically anything that gets done with Desmond in the earlier games.
That might have been the worst take I've ever seen in the last 10 years of Assassin's Creed. Nothing, and I mean nothing, that chick has ever done is more meaningful than what Desmond was doing as a character. Desmond took out an entire fucking center of Abstergo agents, killed that a piece of shit Templar lord, basically, of the modern age, and saved his dad in Assassin's Creed 3. And used the apple halfway to do it, right? I mean, he used the apple at the end. He killed everyone else by hand. I will not hear this slander. I will not hear this bullshit. This man saved the world. I repeat, saved the world from imploding. Oh, hell no. I'm not going to hear that shit. Please refrain from ever saying that again, because abso-fucking-lutely not. Abso-fucking-lutely not. No. Absolutely disavow.
The hiatus and the overhaul of the franchise at large ends up being the best move that Ubisoft could have made. The franchise was revitalized, selling twice as many units as Syndicate did in its first 10 days, restoring both sales and critical favor. But here's where things start to get a little icky. You know how Ubisoft is famous, like EA, for those microtransactions? They start playing with that in Origins. Despite the
No, they did. That's wrong. They did that in Unity. They had microtransactions in Unity, but they really started toying more around with it in Syndicate. So no, they have microtransactions in Syndicate and Unity. So no, that's not true. They just went way more in depth in Origins and so on. Just wanted to say that.
move towards the RPG system, really bringing back the franchise, purist fans f***ing hated it. They rebelled against Origins and the new
for the wrong reasons, because they were bitching about the way the game played versus the actual having anything to do with the story, which should have been praised on more. But whatever, that's just me. I could appreciate the game for what it was, but I will say after that, they took the wrong path after that, bro.
RPG format. They took to social media to claim that the franchise was dead and that they were done with it, but realistically,
it wasn't dead. It made too much money for it to be dead.
This ended up just being the renaissance of the Assassin's Creed franchise. Following Origins, Ubisoft gets to work on Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This game drops in 2018 with a storyline based in classical Greece, following yet another pair of two playable characters.
I hated this game on so many levels for so many different reasons. I refuse to even talk about it. Shit characters, boring, irrelevant to me, don't really have anything useful to add to the storyline. This game, honestly, I just blocked out of my memory. And honestly, I refuse to talk about it. So let's just skip along.
We're basically locked behind paywalls, and you really get locked down into that grind or pay to play in a way that really had not been seen in the franchise before. Now things start to take an interesting shift. Shortly after Odyssey, in 2020, they dropped Valhalla. Now people had been begging for the Viking storyline almost as hard as they had been begging for a samurai assassin, which will be...
Yeah, it's called Ghost of Tsushima. You can just play that shit because Jin Sakai is a way better assassin for the Assassin Brotherhood, unironically. Excuse me. Oh, fuck. Let me pause this. Holy shit, I apologize. Fuck this goddamn infection, or whatever. It's not infection, it's just it's a little bit of, it's just the remaining remnants of a fucking cold that I wish to really get rid of. Get the fuck out my system, bitch. Anyways, let's go.
Getting into in a few minutes. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is set in medieval England and Norway during the Viking Age. And Ubisoft finally brought back something that players had been begging for, that they had abandoned when they ended up taking the game in the RPG direction. The social stealth element was finally back, and
it really wasn't. It actually really wasn't. There was no stealth in this game. They fooled you. They fooled me. We all got fooled.
Players were thrilled. This and many other factors end up making Assassin's Creed Valhalla the highest selling game in the...
Yeah, that's not what happened, though. Again, I feel as though this is short-sighted because, no, it actually didn't... That's not what made those sales. We all... Unless people got fooled, that's not what happened. There was no social... Yes, there was a social stealth system to an extent, but it was very, very inconsequential to the way the game was layered. Stealth was impossible in that game. It just was. You were going to get into fights. The detection system was trash. The layout was just so inconducive to stealth. It's too wide open. There's too many actual fights on the path. You know, you're usually walking in the woods and you're gonna have a fight coming, right? There's just too many instances of you having to it's just too many fucking, instances and variables for you to actually have a successful stealth system in this game. It was just very disappointing to me. It was like a little taste of what we could have, but it just didn't follow through on anything.
Entire Assassin's Creed franchise. Now, granted, we may be able to chalk that up to the fact that it was released in 2020 in the height of the COVID pandemic when nobody had anything else to do, but the theming and vibes of the game were so good and post-launch support was so solid that players kept coming back to Valhalla for more and more. Valhalla, though, inspires Ubisoft to try a little return to form. They started working on Mirage as a sort of expansion to Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but over time, time, they basically ended up deciding it should be its own game. Mirage ends up set in 9th century Baghdad and basically serves as a prequel to the events of Valhalla. Developed by Ubisoft Bordeaux, which was originally just a support studio, the game was a major return to the series' roots. It focused on...
It really wasn't, though. Once again, I feel as that's very short-sighted to say that. It wasn't. I wish she would understand like the actual issues with these games, because I'm not saying she doesn't, but she's not listing it, and I'm a little confused by the sense of you're saying what broke Assassin's Creed. You're literally like glossing over the actual games that essentially may have that are attributing to people's criticisms of this company. Mirage was not a return to form. The combat system was god awful, jagged, had like 1 to 2 moves, which I guess I can. Nah, I don't give it a pass because Unity. People try to give this game a pass and say, "Well, it's a total stealth game. It's what's based on." Okay, but Unity had a way better stealth system than fucking Mirage, and that game is basically a lot more encouraged with stealth than anything, right? But you had the option to have a varied combat system, while being able to use tricks and tools to give yourself an advantage and guns. But it had a very variable combat system. It had a social blend system. So I'm a little confused by that. Like, I'm very confused by that assertion that it's a return to form. And don't even get me started on the fucking stupid shit where you were basically a superhero the entire time. You kill someone, and then you could teleport and kill someone else on the other side of the fucking on the other side of the area. That makes no fucking sense. I'm not kidding. You actually play this game, guys, it's retarded. It's dumb. It's not a return to form whatsoever. It's actually quite the opposite.
Stealth assassinations and parkour and a linear open world sort of storyline.
Yeah, the parkour was shit. The parkour was fixed with the patch, I guess, and it was a little faster, but it's still kind of... It's the best of the RPG era by miles. I'll give it that. And it's not bad. It's just not a return to form.
As opposed to those RPG elements that the Assassin's Creed franchise had taken on during the last 3 games. Even though Mirage was a much smaller game than the previous 3 and even smaller than other games in the mainline series of the franchise, it actually did really well, and it signaled to Ubisoft that maybe Assassin's Creed players were finally ready to get...
Well, again, I feel like Ubisoft they kept lying and kind of making promises they didn't keep in these same games. Oh, we're going to do this, and this. It's like, but you didn't do that. Like, that game was not a return to form. That game had elements and was like the right idea with some of its pieces, but it wasn't a return to form. It was just kind of a shitty game, you know?
Back to what the franchise used to be. Just before the release of Mirage, though, Ubisoft made an announcement that they had several Assassin's Creed games in the works. They make this announcement in 2022. One of these games is titled Assassin's Creed Codename Hex, and we'll talk about that closer to the end of this video. But the other one is Assassin's Creed Shadows. Initially, fans were so stoked.
What fans? Again, what fans? I'm sorry to tell you this, but no, we weren't. You know why? There is this game that we knew would never stack up to called Ghost of Tsushima. Now, Ghost of Tsushima is the sandbox game that proved you can make a game that's layered, has a nice, pretty open environment, but still is a sandbox game with a stealth system. Like Assassin's Creed. Now, granted, Ghost of Tsushima is a open world, open combat game. Don't get me wrong. It is designed to where you have to get into fights, right? But you have a stealth system. You have tools of being a stealthy ninja. You have a reason to be one, right? You have missions where you actually have to be stealthy and sneak, as opposed to like Origins that didn't have a mission like that, which is very weird to say the least. It was very weird to say the least that they didn't have missions like that, right? But Tsushima did, where she had to sneak in and not get detected. They had like 3 or 4 missions that were like that, and a phenomenal main character that is beloved. You know, shit. I apologize again. As where, sorry, I'm talking slow again. I'm on the last legs of this shit. I can finally get back to doing real shit soon. Thank God. As opposed to like, you know, I don't know, like as opposed to like previous games, the reason a lot of us were like apprehensive in Shadows was it's just going to be a shit version and a really cheap version of what Tsushima is, and it's going to show. And unfortunately, I was right.
They had been begging
And Yotai kicks its ass too.
For a samurai assassin for literally over a decade.
And again, the reason that a lot of us weren't stoked, and I think you're not mentioning, we got him. Unfortunately, he's just not officially a fucking assassin. His name's Jin Sakai. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but Jin Sakai was that character. And a lot of us are looking at Ubisoft like, okay, what the fuck is this shit you're doing now? And then they made a game that honestly, I don't understand what the fuck they were thinking with fucking Shadows, to be honest.
This point. And finally, Assassin's Creed Shadows would be set in Japan during the Sengoku period. Everything seemed set for Ubisoft to rock. Until the controversy started. When the video game's premiere trailer dropped in 2024, Yasuke was revealed to be one of the main characters.
My problem with Yasuke has nothing to do if he was black or not, but he was an unnecessary character that didn't fit the mold of an assassin. And once again, it lends credence to the issue of you once again cannot trust a female to lead your fucking to lead a game. And that again is why I have an issue with that. It's just terrible.
Some fans and historians reacted very negatively to the inclusion of a black samurai as the main character of this game, as opposed to, you know, an indigenous Japanese one. They cited that the existence of Yasuke as a black samurai was highly contested by historians as it was, and they noted that Ubisoft had never, and still to this day has not, made a game with an East Asian male protagonist. This would have been their chance to do it had...
I mean, yeah, but there was that one. Yeah. Wait, was that like that the PSP games, right? And they had Shunjin, right? You know, we're not gonna talk about that one. I'm not gonna talk about Assassin's Creed Chronicles. Fuck that shit. But her outfit's sick, by the way. If you actually play Syndicate and you play as Evie, her outfit is sick.
They not made Yasuke the main character instead. The controversy was a wildfire. While some people had nuanced takes, even people like Elon Musk took to the global stage on social media to attack Ubisoft for going woke and claiming that DEI kills art. According to an article by GameSpot, this controversy was so insane for Ubisoft that they actually chose to entirely scrap an idea that they had been working.
Which I found kind of retarded, the way this was handled by Ubisoft. Because this is a series in which a Native American basically just won the Revolutionary War for the colonials, right? And we're going to draw the line of the Black Samurai in terms of historical inaccuracy. When this game has never been historically accurate, ever. That's what's funny to me. If I was Ubisoft, I would have just ignored it and not referenced it. And just put up the PSA at the beginning of the game that these games are not historically accurate. That's what I would have done. Because there's no point. This game is not historically accurate. To complain about the Yasuke thing is basically, it's just kind of retarded. But Ubisoft made it so much worse with the way they handled it that it just fed on itself. And to be honest with you, I didn't like Yasuke because he wasn't a good character in the sense that he didn't fit the mold of anything. The dude couldn't even do a leap of faith. He's a character I just don't like. you know? But that's just me.
On for a game set during the Civil War that would have followed an escaped slave finally getting the opportunity to confront racial hate groups like the Ku Klux Klan.
I'm sorry, but and here's the thing. It's how I know that these people aren't fans. And they're not. You're not fans. And you're going to sit there and say, oh, you're gatekeeping. No, the reason I know you fucking retards aren't fans, we've already done that storyline. You know? Like, that's funny to me that that's how scared they got. Like, we were freeing black slaves as Adewale in Assassin's Creed Black Flag Freedom Cry. So now we're scared of that? Oh, now we're scared of freeing slaves? Something we were doing in Black Flag? With a black man? Oh, okay. Good to know. Fucking retarded.
The controversies with Assassin's Creed Shadows did not end there, though. They really screwed the pooch on this one. The game was criticized for inauthentic representations of Japanese culture, its use of a historical reenactment group's flag without asking for permission, a collectible artifact closely resembling an iconic monument in Nagasaki, and above all, the game also featured the ability to destroy traditional Japanese shrines, prompting backlash about the disrespect of Japanese culture and religion. The game ended up getting delayed twice, the marketing materials were highly criticized, and the writing was on the wall. The game did not even break even. It underperformed hugely. It sold even less than the otherwise tiny Assassin's Creed Mirage, and Assassin's Creed Shadows is widely regarded as the worst performing, worst selling mainline entry into the Assassin's Creed franchise. Besides the
game's awful as well. The trans storyline was meaningless and just completely unneeded. The voice acting's awful. The facial animations again are terrible. This wasn't a good game. Excuse me.
Financials and all the controversies, the game was widely criticized for a messy and vague storyline, underwhelming and monotonous voice acting, and overall imbalanced combat. Now,
and people bitch about Yotai, but Yotai was actually a success. And that game's actually 10 times better made and 10 times better well done. And I don't even care for that game.
now I ask, having gone over the history of the Assassin's Creed franchise, where does this leave us? Because realistically, if we think about this, right, this isn't the story of a franchise that suffered from a weak launch or two, or a controversial protagonist, or even a few messy design decisions. This is really the story of a franchise that lost sight of what it was. At its peak, Assassin's Creed was never about history or combat or stealth. It was about identity. The fantasy of it all was exceedingly clear. You were an assassin. You moved through history like a ghost. You'd largely be forgotten by time, but you would have shaped the timeline and the world as we knew it, all while being an integral part of something much greater than ourselves, a war for good and for survival that had spanned centuries.
Whoa. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm sorry, I gotta stop you there. I gotta keep it a buck with you, dog. No, that's not what the assassins are. There's no good. There's no evil. These are beliefs. These are the conflicts of beliefs. The assassins are not good. They're not heroes. They're not supposed to be heroes. They are supposed to be forgotten. And they don't do good things. They do what's necessary for what they believe in for freedom. Ezra Templars are not evil inherently. They're not evil inherently. They're just not. You know? Like, if you play, again, and again, you skipped Rogue, which explains my point perfectly. Rogue is the absolute picturesque, like, point of view of the Templars. To show you that Templars believe in control, but they also do believe in the idea of peace and keeping control so things don't get out of hand so society can run smoothly. But that, and I don't know. Just there's a lot of what's the word? A lot of people who have conflicting views of the assassins, but they're not heroes. There's no good and evil. It's a moral gray area, actually. Just want to correct that.
For a while, for as convoluted as some of those storylines may have gotten, every game fed into that core idea. But over time, that identity started to fracture. First, we lost the modern day connection element. Then the fight of the assassins versus Templars ended up becoming background noise to other motivations. Then the games got bigger, longer, more expensive, more content filled, but most importantly, less focused. So technically, Assassin's Creed never died. It went on to make more money than it ever had. Again, Valhalla is the highest selling game in the franchise by far. The
Good God, we have low standards.
RPG era brought in new players, new audiences, and above all, massive engagement. But while it did that, it stopped being the thing that people fell in love with in the first place. And Ubisoft found itself in the incredibly unique but incredibly difficult position of trying to satisfy two completely different audiences with the same series at the same time. On the one hand, they had the fans who wanted that original stealth-driven assassin fantasy. And on the other hand, the players who valued the RPG element and wanted a customizable path to follow in a game that would span hundreds of hours. And instead of just choosing a direction for the franchise, regardless of which direction I feel is the right one, Ubisoft just kept trying to do both and eventually ended up succeeding at neither. That's why Assassin's Creed Shadows feels way less like a random failure and way more like the literal breaking point of the franchise. By the time it was released, the franchise was already being pulled apart in way too many different directions. Creative identity issues, monetization fatigue, controversy overshadowing the product, and a fan base that no longer agreed on what Assassin's Creed should be. So when Assassin's Creed Shadows launched and it stumbled, there wasn't enough goodwill or faith or trust from the fan base to catch it, and that's why it fell as hard as it did. That begs the question.
It fell because it just wasn't a good game. I'm just going to be real with you. Assassin's Creed Shadows fell because it just wasn't a good idea after we all told you. No one was hyped for a Japanese game. We said repeatedly, you're never going to ever beat Ghost of Tsushima, and you're never going to get close. You look foolish for trying. But whatever, they tried it. The game just didn't look good. The marketing wasn't great. It just was dead on arrival. And then the stupidity of having a black samurai the way they did, and then answering the controversy the way they did, was pretty dumb. But to be honest with you, the game was never going to do that well because, frankly, I don't think they marketed the game to do that well. They just didn't market it well either. Like, they didn't really put any faith in the game to begin with. You know, I think that's what it came down to. But yeah, the franchise has tried to basically appease its core fan base, and they're doing it, and they're actually doing a pretty good job, I think, of actually making amends now with some of the decisions they made. The 60 frames per second update was actually pretty nice of them to do so for Unity and Syndicate. I really do enjoy that. I have no problem with what they've listen. What they're trying to do now is do a remake, which I do not agree with on any fucking level, of a Black Flag. I rather they would have just remastered it and ported it in and did some updates to the graphics, and that's it. The game does not need to be remade. I completely vehemently disagree with it, but we will see how it goes. They're going to show us they're going to show us what's going to happen in like 2 days. But I have an issue with the idea that they're going to do that. I really do. But they are trying, I think, to do better by the fans. I really think so. Plus, they're making a Netflix show. The Assassin's Creed franchise isn't dead. They just had another bad game. And I think people have to understand it doesn't mean a franchise is dead. Okay? But this latest game is it's a disappointment. It really is. Because I feel as though there wasn't any need for it. You could have went anywhere else.
Question: Is Assassin's Creed ready to be found?
Also, I think it's a problem that they only made Ezio have multiple games. When characters like Connor could have a sequel. Characters like Arno should have had a sequel, but I understand why Arno didn't. Bayek definitely should have got a sequel. That one I don't understand at all.
Again? I think it is, and I think that Ubisoft knows the answer to that question. The next Assassin's Creed game that's slated to release is Assassin's Creed codename Hex. Assassin's Creed Mirage was a test, a smaller, more focused game that looped us back to stealth, parkour, and dedication.
Again, it was stupid because you used fucking stupid magical entities to make your kills. So if you like an example, you drop down into a leap of faith, right? But you can then assassinate people by teleporting. That's retarded. It's not a return to form. I refuse to believe that.
Assassinations. And it worked. Not because it reinvented the wheel, but because it was a return to what Assassin's Creed used to feel like.
I'm sorry, did we look at the same game? What are we talking about? It over relies on to me half-baked stealth mechanics using again stupid fucking animations. I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like it really doesn't. It's nothing like 2. Nothing like maybe a poor man's 1. But are we sure we're talking about the same game here? It's a less advanced like stealth system even than Unity, which I guess I get what you're saying. You're saying it doesn't reinvent the wheel, but what they do is kind of retarded.
Hex is supposed to release late this year, and the rumor mill is buzzing about it. This is supposed to be a much darker game set during the 16th century German witch trials, and it's also rumored to return to that.
Oh. Well, that changes things.
More linear narrative-driven style of the game.
Don't bring me hope.
Games in the franchise before the RPG era. If the rumors are true, we might be looking at a franchise that's actively looking to find its identity again and might actually get to do it. At the end.
Okay, but you're missing one key big thing here. Black Flag remake. Yeah, Hex is whatever. First of all, I could have swore the next game was supposed to be set in India. But we're going with the witch trials. I'm fucking in, dude. Personally, I could do a Wild West Assassin's Creed any day. But that's just me. You know what? I thought about it. Same lesson from fucking the Ghost of Tsushima thing. No, Red Dead Redemption, we know. But still. Listen. If we're to be smart about this, they should just do a World War II Assassin's Creed. World War I, actually. But they had their chance and they blew that too. It looked really cool in Syndicate with that side mission with Lydia Fry, but I'll never get that.
Of the day, I don't mean to be an old man screaming at clouds here. Assassin's Creed didn't break because it changed. It broke because it stopped knowing what it was. The future of the franchise isn't dependent on...
No, it broke because at the end of the fucking day, these fans, I'm sorry to say this, a lot of y'all are fucking like unrealistically stupid. I have to be real about this. It is 2026. Do you really expect this damn near 20-year-old franchise at this point to keep doing the same shit and working? No, you don't. You don't. And at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, you have to change and adapt. And while I didn't like the RPG setup, I hated the way that people treated Origins because you guys completely missed the point of Origins. And you completely missed how good of a written storyline that was. They had a main storyline. You had a bunch of separate side quests. Simple. But the main storyline was phenomenal. The Hidden Ones DLC was absolutely perfect. The Curse of Pharaohs was out there and ridiculous, but I can accept that. You know, I can accept for what it was. I'm so sorry. But as for a series, right? After that, they just followed the money. And the money said, do RPG shit. They're trying to compete with games like God of War. It had nothing to do with losing your identity. I'm sorry, I don't agree with that at all. They're trying to compete with God of War. And they're doing a damn good job of it. But obviously, to us gamers, we all know the difference.
Better graphics, more content, bigger maps, larger games overall, it depends on whether or not Ubisoft is willing to answer a very simple question. What is Assassin's Creed actually supposed to be? And more importantly, are they willing to commit to the answer? And that's
I mean, the answer is pretty simple. Are you a fucking assassin or not? And we haven't been one. So let's get back to form, because I think we're all kind of sick and tired of this shit. You know, we're all kind of sick and tired of assassins not being anything. We're all kind of sick of it. We need the assassin order back. But I like to just say, like, the video's not bad, but there's a few inconsistencies. I think you miss, and again, you miss talking about the Black Flag remake, which is very important as well, coming up. I think it's equally, if not more important than the next game, because you're now messing with the most beloved game in the franchise, arguably, alongside 2, alongside Brotherhood. So we will see. I will say there was some corrections out of making this video, because that, you know, as a fan that's actually been ingrained in this fan base and knows all these games front to back, there needs to be, I had to correct a few things, but there needs to be something that needs to be said. The game needs to make a decision on, I think they need to revisit the Unity engine again and need to think about if they want to rebuild that again. Because that engine is untapped gold. I'm playing Syndicate. Holy shit, is that game good. Now, we need to bring back lures and shit, like using, like, distractions. You know who does that? Ghost of Tsushima. But you need to take from games like Ghost of Tsushima and bring that engine back. But that's just me. Not a bad video, but a little short-sighted and missing a few facts. Also, I really don't understand your hatred for Desmond by disrespecting him like that. Layla is not more meaningful on any level than Desmond. I'd like to just say that.